we're going to introduce second degree equations, also known as quadratic equations. So I'm assuming you already are familiar with first degree equations or linear equations, which we introduced in the previous episode. They look like something like this: 2x plus 5 equals x plus 9. This is a first degree equation, a linear equation, and we already said why is it why we call it first degree equation, because the largest exponent of the unknown, right, x is unknown here, the largest exponent of the unknown or indeterminate, the largest exponent is 1. When you don't see any exponent written, that means the exponent is 1, right? So since the largest exponent of the indeterminate, or the largest exponent of the unknown, in other words, is 1, we call it first degree equation. First degree. Now look at this one. X to the power of 2. Look at this equation. X to the power of 2 equals 4. Now, the largest power of the unknown, the largest power of the indeterminate is 2. So we call this second degree equation or quadratic. What does it mean, quadratic? Quadratic. It comes from Latin. It means square. Right? When you say something squared, like 2 squared, that means 2 to the power of 2. Or 3 squared, that means 3 to the power of 2. What does it mean to the power of 2? It means multiplied by itself. So 3 to the power of 2 is 3 times 3. 2 to the power of 2 is 2 times 2, and so on. So square or quadratic, that's another name for second degree equations. Okay, now how do we solve these second degree equations? For example, this one that I have written, x squared or x to the power of 2 equals 4. How do we solve it? We have to think, first of all, as we explained, x to the power of 2 or x squared means some x multiplied by itself. So I'm going to write it like that. X times x equals 4, right? That's what this equation really means. X squared equals 4. That means x times x equals 4. So we have to ask ourselves, what number multiplied by itself equals 4? So 1 multiplied by itself equals 1. 2 multiplied by itself equals 4. Okay, so 2 works. Check. So x equals 2. Because 2 multiplied by 2 equals 4. So 2 is the answer to this equation. We made the unknown or indeterminate x, we made it known, or we determined it. It equals 2. X equals 2. Is that the only answer that works in this equation? X equals 2. Nothing else works here? Let's think about it. What about negative numbers? What happens to negative numbers when they get multiplied by another negative number? So for example, negative 1 multiplied by negative 1, we put parentheses just to not mix things up. Negative 1 to the power of 2, which means negative 1 multiplies by negative 1, is positive 1. Negative times negative is positive. So then if that's the case, then x equals negative 2 should also be an answer. X equals negative 2, because negative 2 multiplied by negative 2 also equals positive 4. So Second degree equations, they could have two answers, right? They could have more than one answer. Linear equations or first degree equations, they always have only one answer. But second degree equation, they could have more than one. They could have two answers. Let's see another example. We have x squared equals 9. What about this equation? Okay, now again, we have to ask ourselves, if we want to solve this, we have to ask ourselves, what number, question mark, or x, multiplied by itself equals 9? So we can think, for example, 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. What about 3 times 3? Oh, 3 times 3 equals 9. So one answer for x is x equals 9. Sorry, x equals 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. So x equals 3. That's one answer. Is there any other answer? The negative. Exactly, the negative 3. So x equals negative 3 is also an answer, because negative 3 times itself, negative 3 times negative 3 equals positive 9. Okay, so two answers for this question, for this equation. Let's see another example. X squared equals 0. What about this one? So now we have to think about what number multiplied by itself equals 0. What number multiplies by itself equals 0? And that is x equals 0. Only 0 multiplied by itself equals 0. No other number. Any other number you try, you get some non-zero answer. 0 multiplied by itself equals 0. Is there any other answer to this equation? Not really. That's the only one. So second degree equations, they could have two answers. Like in here, two answers. Or they could have one answer. And sometimes, like in this case, look at this equation, x squared equals negative 69, right? What about this? Can you answer this one? Can a number get multiplied by itself and the result be negative 69 or any other negative number? Is that possible? Because if x is positive, think about it. If x is larger than 0, which means positive, then a positive number multiplied by itself should be, the answer should be positive. X squared also would be positive. And on the other hand, if x is less than 0, meaning x is negative, like a negative 2, negative 3, whatever, if it's a negative number. We know negative times negative, x to the power of 2, negative times negative is positive. So x squared, or x to the power of 2, has to be positive as well. So there's no way that x to the power of 2, or in general, any number multiplied by itself, there's no way that the answer would be a negative number. So in this case, there is no real answer. You see? So in general, second degree equations, they can have two answers. They can have one answer. And they could have no real answer. 3 cases. Okay. Now let's see another example. Look at this equation. X squared plus 3x plus 5 equals 10x minus 9. Look at this equation. First of all, can you tell what is the degree of this equation? Is it first degree or second degree, or is it, in other words, is it linear or quadratic? If you guessed second degree, you're right. So even though here we have terms like 3x or 10x that they have the exponent of x is 1, for determining the degree of the equation, we only care about the largest exponent of the unknown. So the largest exponent, if we scan the entire equation, the largest exponent is this guy. The largest exponent is 2. So this equation is second degree, is a quadratic equation. That's how we differentiate them. We only scan the equation and look for what is the largest exponent, what is the largest power of the unknown. And that will be the degree of this equation. Now that we determined the degree of this equation, we identified the degree, how can we solve this kind of equation? X squared plus 3x plus 5 equals 10x minus 9. How do we solve this kind of equation? This is going to be the topic for our next episode. Stay tuned. Let me know if you have any questions.